All right, let's turn to the file data set that we want to clean up, which is very similar to the previous one. The polity score comes from the same source, and we can see, yes, indeed, they use something called the S code and a C code, which we were already downloading before. So anyhow, this is what your data set looks like after you download it. As always, let's just copy this data set into a new sheet, paste special values, and let's call that, again, I just give it typically my name because so I know I worked on that one, and if I give it to somebody else, they know, okay, this is where Marcus worked on. So anyhow, so there's like a couple of conflict indicators. You can go to the website and look at those. So there's a distinction between violence and war, but you know, an indicator that captures a little bit the sum of everything is what they call AC total, or armed conflict total. So let's just focus on this one. And what we need is, we need the World Bank code. And so let's just download again. Before we download anything, let's actually take a look at what we did in the previous example when we looked at systemic peace and looked at polity. But actually, no, before I do that, I'll just take quickly again those first three columns, and I paste them in there. Paste special values, so you know you can go paste, and you can click on the 1, 2, 3, or you can go down here, paste special, and can click here on values. Okay, so let's remove again the duplicates. So let's go to data, remove duplicates. Our data has headers, okay. So we have 182. And now let's just focus on that C code. And I will pull up again the previous data set, the major episodes of political violence, and put both next to each other. Okay, so here on the right-hand side, we see the major episodes of political violence. And here to the left, our polity data set. And we already looked at the country names there. And we see that they have those country codes as well. So it should be quite easy to get the World Bank code now for the major episodes of political violence data set, because what we need to do is we now look up simply that C code, country code, I guess, and I look it up in my previous file, the polity file. And now I need to highlight 3 columns because the World Bank code is now in the 3rd column. So we always count the first column as the first, so it's the 3rd column of the table array. And we see we have the dollar signs there. So now we gotta click in here, and now we want the 3rd value, and if it's not there, it is false. Close parentheses. Okay, Afghanistan. Let's just see how that looks like. Okay, it's okay, Czechoslovakia. We can sort the data set actually and see which ones have NAs. if those are the typical suspects which have already which are countries that do no longer anymore exist. Okay, so I'll just sort now by World Bank code, and if I press OK, at the bottom of the data set we have all the NAs, and you see those are all countries that are irrelevant because they no longer anymore exist, like Czechoslovakia, Vietnam North, Germany East, Germany West, Vietnam South, Vietnam USSR, Yugoslavia, Serbia and Montenegro, Yemen South, and Yugoslavia. I mean, the country coding that I have done here, that may not be like a divine law. So, for example, some people may argue, Germany West, that has unified with Germany East, but maybe all the data for Germany West, they are probably still a good predictor for maybe the unified Germany. So, but anyhow, since we focus more on technical aspects and not on academic content, that should be good enough. So now, final step, we have to pull up again our final data set and then pull up the major episodes of political violence data. But for now, first what I do is I copy, paste special values, so I get rid of my formulas. Now I add in my sheet that I called Marcus, next to the country, I insert a column called the column World Bank code, use VLOOKUP, and now I want to VLOOKUP that C code, that country code, and I want to look it up now what is in sheet 2. So in sheet 2 I have the country code here, and so 1, 2, 3 in column 3 I want the World Bank code. Don't forget to put in those little anchors so that the table array doesn't copy down as you copy down the formula. And so and we said we want the third column, and if it's not there, it's false. Okay, so now we look up this country code in here in sheet 2, where I have all the C codes and the World Bank code, and then I highlighted this table array, and if the first one is I look up the 700, and if you find the 700, I want the 1, 2, 3rd column. Okay, so now that looks good. So let's copy down again. So you see Zimbabwe has ZWE, so I can copy, paste special values, remove the formula. Final step is create the ID. Okay, ID, we settled on World Bank code and the year. Copy down, remove formula, Control C, paste special values. Okay, and now we can look up the armed conflict score. So final thing I need to do is pull up again our final data set where we have everything in there. So I do that quickly. Okay, so on the left you see our final data set where we have all the variables that we downloaded so far: GDP per capita, natural resource rents, gender parity index, poverty, disability adjusted life years from child and maternal malnutrition, income inequality, Gini, polity. In the last one, I just call it we can call it conflict, that's not too long. And so we look it up. We look up the country code. Now we go to our major episodes of political violence sheet. Don't forget the comma. So click with the mouse into the first cell, highlight the entire array, check for those dollar signs. Then we want the value, which is the second column, and if it's not there, it is false. Okay, so the first value is a 0 for Afghanistan, and we can check later that should change in the 90s. So copy down. Okay, we can zoom in, remove the formula, paste special values. Okay, so we remove the formula, and we see that in Afghanistan in 72, when Russia invaded, conflict went up. So, and then pretty much stayed conflict since then. Last thing we want to do is we want to take off or take out the NAs, so number, so we control F, still there from the previous, and then we replace by 2 dots. For some reason I italicized that, so remove that again. Okay, so now our data set is finally finished. So our data set is now finished. We can just look again and give it some final, some control. Maybe what I always do is you just highlight everything and just Control F, search for one of those pound signs. If you see one of those pound signs, then actually you just want to find it. So find next. There are still a couple of NAs that we forgot earlier. So let's highlight the entire data set. Let's Control F and find number NA, replace by 2 dots. Okay, replace all. So let's see if we still have some other values that look a little bit fishy. Number, and find next. No. So far, so now we have a pretty good data set. There's only one other thing that I would like to add, and those are regional identifiers. So I will insert here another column, and what I want to do is I want to add here region. So we know that Afghanistan is South Asia, and Zimbabwe is Sub-Saharan Africa. So how can we get this information quickly? So in order to show you a trick on how to get this data very quickly, I want to go quickly back to the World Bank Development Indicators database. So let's just pause here quickly and be right back with the WDI. Okay, so we are back now to the World Bank Development Indicator base, where also everything started in this mini course. And what I want to do now is I want to quickly find a way to give countries their regional attribute, like Afghanistan is South Asia and Zimbabwe is Sub-Saharan Africa. So first thing we do is we just go to countries, which will reduce again our number of observations to 217. So we click on countries. And now see, there is this filter here. And we can click on that filter and we see, oh, okay, so we have the regions here. So the World Bank distinguishes South Asia, Europe and Central Asia, Middle East and North Africa, East Asia and the Pacific, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean and North America. So if I first click now only South Asia, so now it only selected the South Asian countries like Afghanistan, Bhutan, the Maldives, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. So now if I click on those, the WDI database will read it into this sequence. So now I go next and I add Europe and Central Asia. So those are the European and Central Asian countries, and I click those. And you see the number goes now up from 8 to 66. Now we add next the Middle East and North Africa. Now we are at a total of 87. Then we go to East Asia and the Pacific. Then we go to Sub-Saharan Africa. Then we go to Latin America and the Caribbean. We add those. Now we are at 214, and the last one that we add is North America. Only 3, Bermuda, United States, and Canada. And now we have the 217 countries selected in the sequence or in by region. So first South Asia and so on. Okay, so now for me to be able to download anything from the WDI, I still need to select a series. And okay, now I got an error message, so let's try again. Series. Okay, let's remove the filter here. Okay. Okay, so we have the 217 countries. Enter keywords. Let's see what happens here. GDP. And search. No idea what's happening here. Okay. So we have the countries. Okay. Let's try series again. Available. Okay, let's try time if that works. Either session expired or unable to process database. Please contact the administrator. Well, that is a frustrating real-world experience. So let's just try quickly again. WDI. Okay. Click on countries. First, we want to read in South Asia. Click. Then Europe and Central Asia. Then Middle East and North Africa, then East Asia and the Pacific, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean, and North America. Okay, so now we have done the same thing again, it's just a little bit quicker. Now let's click on series. Oh, okay, so I don't know what happened before. But so what we did is we read the 217 countries into the database, but for us to be able to download data, we have to also click on some variable. So I just take any one, could be, because I'm not really interested in the variable, I'm just interested in the sequence of countries. So I'll just take the first one, and then what we still need to do is we need to, oops, I don't know what I clicked in here now. Apply changes table, click here, preview, add country. Okay, add time, so we click on time, we just take one year like 2020. Okay, apply changes. And so now we downloaded just one variable that we're not really interested in. And so we took access to clean fuels. We selected 217 countries. And we have 1 year, which is time. We have to scroll down. It's 2020. So now I can download this data, and we just go to download, and we download it as Excel, and we can download it again as a list, or in this case as a table. Doesn't really matter because we have only 1 year, so either one will be fine. So I just click on download as Excel, and then let's take a look at it in a second. Okay, so I downloaded the data set from the World Bank, and let's just fit the table content to the cell. And as I said, we don't really need the series name or the series code or anything. What we need though is the sequence, and you see that we have first downloaded all the countries from South Asia. I just called it SA. Okay, and those were all the countries: Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Pakistan. Okay, so now we move from Sri Lanka. The next one is Albania. Well, that is obviously the next geographic region. So I only copy down till Sri Lanka because I know that was one region. Well, Albania is Europe and Central Asia. And now I scroll down again, or I copy down until I see again a backflip in the alphabet. Aha, here. So Uzbekistan is the last one in Europe and Central Asia, so I can copy that down. Okay, so now Algeria, that is the Middle East and North Africa. I call that MENA. And I look again for a backflip in the alphabet. Okay, so from Yemen to American Samoa. So that is one region. MENA. American Samoa is a new one. That's East Asia and the Pacific. So we add East Asia and the Pacific. Look for a sign, for a flip in the alphabet. Okay, Vietnam is the last one in East Asia and the Pacific. We copied that down. Angola is the first one in Sub-Saharan Africa. So let's take a look. Okay, Zimbabwe is the last one in Sub-Saharan Africa. Then Antigua and Barbuda, that's Latin America and the Caribbean. I called it LAC. And let's see. Okay, Virgin Island, that's the last one. And the last three I call NAM, North America. Okay, so now we can just easily read those regional definitions into our data set. So I'll put again quickly this file next to our final data file. Okay, so to the left you see our final data file where we want to insert the region. So what we do is we VLOOKUP again, as so often already. But now we do not have to look up the ID because we don't use an ID. The country code will be enough. So we click on AFG, comma. So we want to look up just the AFG code or the alpha 3 code because there is no ID in our regional classification file. Okay, then we highlight this data set over there, and we see that Excel put already the dollar signs in. Then we want the second column, and if it's not there, it's false, and that's it. So first one is South Asia, and so we just get copy down, and we see South Asia, Europe and Central Asia. So that all looks correct. And so this is our final data set. Let's one more time make sure that there are no formulas in there. So we paste special values. Okay, let's make sure that there are no weird signs in there like number divided by 0 or number value not available or NA. Okay, so that looks fine. So this will be our final data set. We have here regions and income. Maybe we still want to, the dailies, we don't really need all those decimals here, so maybe we just delete some of the decimals. And if those little icons here, decreased decimals, don't work, make sure that the data is formatted as a number. So I want 0 decimals for the dailies. Okay. For the Gini coefficient, let's see what kind of format that is. Doesn't work either. So we right click, format cells, number. I'll just do it for 3 digits this time. And I still want to make sure it is maybe centered. There's definitely something like data set aesthetics. And so our data set is now complete. And we should be able now to just play around with this kind of data and do a couple of more manipulations, but we will stay in our final data set here. All right, so I hope that has helped. Thanks a lot.